Hello, hello. It is good to be back. Uh, yes, Whiskey Novice here with you again. Not so many of us in. That may be my fault. In my stupidity, once again, I actually forgot to make the video public in YouTube. Now, these are starting to come in now. Glad to see it, guys, because I actually did make a boo-boo there. In my defense, actually, I'll go in and say hello first. Pete Head, Frank, in early doors. Frank, great to see you again. Good to spend some time with you last night. Also, Alan McLaughlin, great to see you. Lee J. Brown, great to see you. Great to spend some time with you last night as well. We'll get to that in a minute. Mrs. Swift, Whiskey Pilgrim, Frederick, good to see you. Yes, yes, Alan, just the notification. I apologize. I really, as I say, I've done that before, and actually to the point where I didn't put it out at all, and I went live and then realized that I forgot to make it, because what I do is whenever I advertise it first on a Friday, Whiskey Straight Al's in, Al, good evening. Whenever I do it first on a Friday, it goes just to my patrons, and then I keep it sort of locked, and then I unlock it as I advertise it and make it public. But this weekend I completely forgot. So what's happened is, and the reason why, and I think I said this maybe in the last live before it was going, is I've had to go back to work. And Bud Jenkins, good evening. It's Che Francis. We'll get to you in a moment, Che. Yes, I've had to go back to work. Now, most of you, or a lot of you out there, are working people. And now, when I say go back to work, I don't mean sitting in the corner of a bar making a noise and calling it work. I'm talking about grafting again. I'm back into a factory. I'd hoped I'd left factory work behind me, but to have a job right now, I'm not complaining. In the current circumstances, just to have a job is all right. But I've already worked a week of night shifts, a week of evening shifts, and today I worked my first early shift starting at 7 o'clock this morning. So I was up at 5:30, and that's the first time I've been up that early in probably about 6 years. I can honestly say. So I'm exhausted. But let's just get this together for an hour. Bit of chat, drinks with friends, as I said. I have some samples here. What I actually did was I pulled out some samples that Roy had sent me. And the reason I was glad to actually see Che Francis in was, now this is empty, right? But I haven't drained it tonight. Stephen Davison, drams and draws. Tony, good to see you guys. I haven't drained it tonight. This was a big sample. I drank most of this at the beginning of July, whenever I was on holiday, staycation. And as I say, it was a big sample. This sample was actually sent to Roy by Douglas Lang. But then Roy bought a bottle of this is the Rock Island 21-year-old. But Roy actually bought a bottle of it, so he didn't open the sample. And what he did was he ran a competition on one of his VPubs for the sample, to give away samples in the way he does things, that somebody won, but they nominate somebody else to actually take it. Che Francis got the answer right, and he nominated me, so Roy sent me this. So Che, cheers, buddy. I'm actually, just as I said, that was about how much was left in it after I had a go at it at the beginning of July, and a very, very nice dram it is. So I did see a few in there. Yeah, Bud Jenkins worked a few, but I think this is what's getting me down a bit. I worked shifts for 18 years with Michelin tires, and I thought I'd put those days behind me, but needs mustn't they? It's, as I say, just to have a job at the moment. I'm not complaining. I was actually last night. I'm going to tell you what I did last night. Now, there's a couple of guys actually in the room here on what I did last. Well, what I did for a part of last night. New dram drinker in their on their website, and I'm sure most of us know New Dram Drinker, Anthony and Nikki, and they have their this part or this group called Certified Originals. It's free to join. As I say, I know there's quite a few of you in here who are part of that group, and Anthony asked me would I come on to the Certified Originals for a bit of a Q&A last night. Now, what I was expecting was me and Anthony, or Anthony and Nikki, just for a chat. That was what I thought was going to be happening. What I didn't realize was that when I entered the room, now the problem with well, I'll say the problem, uh, this wasn't recorded. It's basically a live thing. Just went out live. Didn't doesn't get recorded to file or stay anywhere. But when I went in, there were a lot of people in there and a lot of faces that I knew from the whiskey community, and I was shocked and awed to the point where I actually swore. And they were all sitting in baseball caps and fake beards. So it was like, this is your life. It really was. And as I say, I know Lee J. Brown was in, Pete Head, Frank was in, and it was just, oh, it was amazing. I can't even remember where I was going with it, but I wanted to just say thank you again to those that were there. I was really, really humbled and thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was just great fun. So, Akshay Jaitley, dropping in for the first time. Actually, good to see you. So, as I say, yes, at the moment, I'm drinking some samples that Roy sent me. This is the Rock Island. Actually, I've got pictures of the other samples that I've got of the bottles. I just didn't take a picture of the Rock Island for the simple fact that I sort of thought it's been shown about, I think, that much recently that I think we nearly know it anyway. This is a lovely dram. I've been quite vocal about Douglas Lang and the Rock Oyster cask strength. I considered one of my favorite whiskies, and I stick by that. Sorry, drams and draws. Tony, it is strange you should ask, because I believe my new job is in Carrickfergus. And are you from Carrickfergus? Somebody I know in here is, or in the Northern Irish whiskey communities from Carrickfergus, and it's just dawned on me. Des is in. Good to see you. Yes, just to answer that question, Tony, it's in the Ryobi factory in Carrickfergus, and as I said, not complaining. It's money, isn't it? You can't buy whiskey without it. So, getting back to this dram, yes, I was very vocal about Rock Oyster. Loved it. The cask strength, still consider one of my own. I don't have any now. I've been through the batch two. I wiped out my batch one recently. Macallan Fine and Rare, the doc, has a couple of bottles for me. So I'll be looking forward to them at some point. That's the batch two. Alan, it's about half an hour. It's not too bad. It's, but half an hour at that time of the morning ain't very pleasant, I have to say. So yes, I don't think Douglas Lang can do an awful lot wrong, and I'm visiting Douglas Lang here tonight. Sorry, Tony. Yes, right. Your Port or Bushmills. That's what it is. There's definitely somebody else I know in Carrick. Yes, Bushmills. On the subject of Bushmills, and this isn't going to be another running for them. I've actually discovered something, I think, about Bushmills recently. If anybody saw Stuart at Whiskey Whim's latest videos, I sent him some samples from the Belfast Whiskey Week, from an experimental thing that Paul from Belfast Whiskey Week did. And I had some left over, some just literally like 10 CL left in bottles, and I was able to split them off for Stuart. And among that was a whiskey, or the actual whiskey that was used in this experiment was Friend at Hand, which is a Belfast whiskey owned by a friend of mine. It's it's a bit of an independent bottling from his shop, the Friend at Hand, and I know, and I don't think he makes a big secret of it, that it's Bushmills whiskey. It's independently bottled Bushmills whiskey. Most of the standard Friend at Hand, excuse me, is a 13-year-old Bushmills, uh, just finished in ex bourbon, I think. Uh, but he also has a cask strength version of it, so it's a 13-year-old Bushmills, matured in American oak and bottled at, I think it's 55%, 55.1%, something like that. And we were discussing it, and in the review, or in the video that Stuart made, he wasn't a fan of the whiskey. And I went back and thought about it, and when I had the samples, and I had it before, Graham Horner, good to see you, buddy. Uh, I wasn't a fan either, and it got me to thinking: is the reason why Bushmills? I could be completely wrong here, but it sounded like a theory that could float. Is the reason why most Bushmills is bottled at 40%? Is it because that when you go beyond a certain point, the spirit just takes over, and they're having tried their new make spirit on a couple of occasions, it's rough enough. It really is. What they're actually achieving with the 10-year-old, the 16-year-old, the even just the original, the Black Bush, those, what they're achieving with them and getting such a good flavor profile. Now I'm thinking this, by bringing it down, maybe they're actually forced to bring it to 40% to maintain that flavor profile, because above it, it's maybe just getting a bit rough, because that cast strength one is rough. So I have a theory about Bushmills. Greg's Whiskey Guide, good to see you, buddy. I know you've been helping family out, and I can appreciate you're super tired, buddy, because I am too. So it's great to see you in. So yeah, that was just a little, not a rant about Bushmills for a change, just a theory, and maybe actually something that, as I say, has, because I've tasted Bushmills that I really like, and people, as I say, beef about the fact that it's bottled at 40%. But as I said, that's my theory now. They bottle it at 40% because there. Anything above is not great. Lee J, yes, Lee J and I both had that same New Scottish Distilleries set from the Belfast Whiskey Week, and it was fantastic. There were some great whiskies in it. Indeed, on the subject of Douglas Lang, he had a Strathern in it, and it was amazing. And it fills me full of hope that Douglas Lang are going to do an awful lot with that distillery that they now have. Just I think I may have brought up a subject here with yes, Bud Jenkins. An interesting theory. Tried the Bushmills tasting books for Belfast Whiskey Week. Surprised even the 21. Yeah, they really, everything goes out, and the prices that they charge for these whiskies is quite shocking. Gary Hobb, good to see you. And the other, and Drams and Draws, Tony, yes, I've had some of the older and even 43%. I mean, you're not really, 43 is not pushing it out there, is it? So it's weird. This was just a theory that I had, having had the cask strength Bushmills, and Greg's saying about trying. I actually tried it whenever I did the WSET, the course in it, the Wines and Spirits Education Trust, because the guy who the teacher there worked for Bushmills. He was a distiller with Bushmills, and he basically gets samples of the new make spirit to let people try as part of the course. And I had it then. I had it on another occasion, and I can't remember when that was. And as I say, it's rough. All that fruit that I get with Bushmills, all that fresh, real fresh fruit, crispy green apple, all that sort of stuff that I find in Bushmills. It's just this stuff is spirit. So my theory is that bringing it to 40% is taming it. Just and they can't go any lower than that. Yes, there's probably somewhere 43%, 46% that they probably could take it to, but it is rough enough. So where was it going? Yes, yet again, I've no agenda. I'm talking about Douglas Lang, but it was only because I had a sample of the 21-year-old Rock Island. Of course, I'll not make that mistake again. This is bottled at 46.8%. As we know, Rock Island is a blend of, might need reminding in this actually, but there's Talisker in there. I believe there's Highland Park in there. I did know this because I had it. It was on obviously all the Rock Oyster. They didn't tell you. I think there's maybe Jura in there as well. They didn't tell you what percentages or anything like that, but they actually on and certainly know on the Rock Oyster label, it stated which distilleries they came from. And as I say, this is really, I suppose, yet again, there's those who would say, well, this is a blend. It's a blended malt, obviously. It's not a blended Scotch. So salt, brine, peat, but gentle peat. But that saltiness, real saltiness and a creaminess. But, very, very nice stuff. Yeah, very nice stuff. Credit to Douglas Lang, as I said, it's the years of experience, isn't it, on their behalf. So this is why I expect a lot from them with the Strathern Distillery. And I've actually getting back to that yet again. Lee J. Brown and I were talking there about the Lunaran. Good evening, you dram drinkers in. Good evening. Uh, and we were just discussing this that I was up very early this morning for my first early shift in a long, long time, and I'm back up tomorrow morning for another early shift, and I ain't looking forward to it. I am incredibly tired. So, but listen, thank you again for last night, Greg's. I did mention it before you guys come in. I was talking about last night. Greg's Whiskey Guide. Thank you. Luna Aram was in. Thank you. Paul Gibbs is in here. Paul, good evening, and thank you for being there last night. And yeah, just I had a brilliant time. I was blown away. Neil Laverty, good to see you, buddy. Neil, just out of curiosity, hello. You don't live in Carrickfergus, do you, by any chance? Because there's somebody from the Northern Ireland community that lives in Carrickfergus, and I can't remember who it is. And I believe, Neil, you're one of the Northern Ireland men. Luna, did I mention the fact you were there? Yeah. Hell's Wed's in. Helen, thank you, you and Andy, for being there last night as well. Great to see you here tonight. So, what are we on now? Well, moving on to, because we're sticking with the samples. I'm coming away from Douglas Lang for one here. Let me just clear things up a little here. And I should actually have a picture. What am I on here? See if I can remember. This one. And this was another sample from Roy. And I don't even remember why I don't even think I've shared that yet. Hold on. Yes, I have. I can't remember why we were or what the occasion was that this come up. Yes, Neil, it is you. I knew there was somebody. Sorry. Uh, yeah, I started working in Carrick now. That was the reason why I was asking you. Sometime in the near future, we'll meet up for a pint. How does that sound? Uh, yeah, I can't remember why Roy sent me this. I'm not complaining, but it just arrived, and as I say, I haven't actually got to it yet. This is the first chance I'm actually getting at it. I decided just to dip in. Greg says he loves the Imperial, loves this independent bottler. I'll just throw that back up there a moment. 25 years old. As you can see, bottled at 44.1%. Oh, it is nice. It's weird. Perfumed fruit. Very, very on the nose. It doesn't, there's a waxiness yet again. There's a clynelish waxiness. Doesn't smell like clynelish, but there is that same waxiness. Strangely enough, for a space side, and yeah, Greg, I would totally agree. It is citrusy. Yeah, it is citrusy. Uh, for for a space side, this is old, and of course, space side wasn't. I mean, as was discussed recently, these you know, this wasn't a space side distillery, if you get my meaning, because the regions didn't exist until much later than when this bottle came out. Say this is 25 years old. So the regions of Scotch whisky that we know now didn't exist when this came out. So it wouldn't have been necessarily known as a space side whiskey. But that matters not. What does matter is it's just a fantastic dram on the nose without even having went into it. It's yeah, you're 100% right, Greg. When I said about perfumed fruit at the start, it's that's what it is. It's a real fresh, citrusy, almost soapy note. McCallum Fine and Rare, good to see you, Doc. Cheers, my friend. As I said, we are having an Imperial single malts of Scotland, 25 years old. Lovely colour. Uh, wouldn't you agree? Yeah, and it's back to Greg saying it here again, and I have to agree. From what I've had, these older distilleries, the dead, the ones that are gone, just there's a nuance with their whiskey. It's just it's weird because this is old, yeah, 25 years old. I suppose it's not, but it's it doesn't smell like it's got a lot of age on it. Mm, oh yeah, that's rich, creamy, sweet but not saccharine, and you can the age is in the taste, and it goes on and on and on, and all the flavor remains right through the finish. It's a slightly sharp, Sweet and sour delivery on that. Mm, but also very gentle for something that carries on so long. It's incredibly easy to drink. Yeah, that's a pleasure, that one. Hmm. Yes, I was going to ask Lee J. Brown earlier on, and I forgot. Uh, Out of the and I wish actually I had the list of the new distilleries that Paul included in his box for Belfast Whiskey Week. And I know Lee J, as I say, had the same box as myself. And I was just interested to know, Lee J, if you had any particular favourites in it. I know the Wolfsburn stood out for a lot of people. I really liked, and I'm going to talk about this whiskey again. And you're getting into the lowlands and a whiskey that a new distillery coming up, Annandale, and it was the Annandale Man of Swords was in that pack, and I just I would say it's an expensive new non-age statement whiskey in a very fancy packaging, but I loved it. So I would actually still take a punt at it. Eric Waitson, good evening, Eric. So yes, this here, throw it up again, just for those who are new to the stream. The Imperial, and a very, very fine dram it is. Mm, mm. Doesn't really play like a Scotch, even. Greg, no, behind me, that is an electric mandolin. I take it you mean this one. That is an electric mandolin. I did have a banjo hanging here, but I couldn't play it, so away it went. I I love the banjo, I love the sound of a banjo, but unfortunately, I just could never. I could write on it almost, but I could never play anything on it really, so it got put away. Anyway, yeah, I do like this, and getting back to the Annandale, I would I look forward to what but their prices are going to have to come down. I think this is the fear, this is the danger with the newer distilleries. They're trying to make their money back very, very quickly. Can't blame them for that, but uh, you know, Stuart's in Whiskey Wims. We were talking about you earlier, Stuart, about your latest video. Well, I was. Don't think anybody else was talking about it, but you know, yes, yeah. Sorry, Bob James. The music always comes up. Sold his banjo years ago. Makes me certain I don't replace it too many. Yeah, it's just to anybody who plays stringed instruments, you know, picking instruments, guitars, mandolin, bass, anything like that. They all have their own thing. Uh, Obviously, bass is just four strings, but those four strings are tuned the same as the last four strings on a guitar. Uh, Mandolin and violin are tuned the same, and they're like an upside down guitar. They're tuned to that of an upside down guitar. Ukulele, and Bud will be able to back me up here. Ukulele's a beast of its own. It's tuned something totally weird, and a banjo is tuned to a chord, and it just makes it incredibly hard to play if you're used to playing a guitar. So there, just leaving the instruments to one side. If you start it in banjo, you'll probably do well. If you start it on guitar, forget about it. Anyway, back to whiskey. That's what we're here for. Spangles. Uh, is that right? Wait, it says banjo versus bagpipes. You know, I absolutely love the sound of both of those instruments, and there's nothing makes the hair on my neck stand up like pipes and drums. It must be the Scot in me, and it just I love the sound of pipes and drums. Obviously, and I actually was I'm friends with a guy who plays the pipes, played the pipes in the army, and has played the pipes for years. A very very good piper. It's not the sort of thing you crack out at a party and have a jam with. So you know, and you've all got a shortbread tin in your cupboard, Stuart, as we all know. In the same way that here in Ireland, everybody lives in mud huts. This was, I'm sorry, I'm only joking. But that was a bit of a take that we had for a while. Anyway, yeah. Oh, that just gets creamier and creamier. You know, I was going to set that down. I was actually going to set that down and uh, and move on to another one, but I've got half an hour with you yet, and it's half an hour of drinks with friends, which I'm going to enjoy. And this is going down so well. It's so creamy and sweet, and it's a it's like something that I've always appreciated with older whiskies is the creaminess. Greg said that I put some more in it. I didn't, Greg, but for the sake of experiment, let's. Richard Agnew, Richard Agnew's in. He left living in mud huts and having peat fires to go and live further away. Richard's good to see you. He is now in Ontario. We were just saying, Richard, that about how the Scots all play the bagpipes, have shortbread tins, and the Irish live in mud huts and peat fires, etc. Yeah, I tell you, Richard, there was a guy in here juggling dolphins a moment ago. You want to have seen it, Greg? I added a little water. It's a it's livened it up a little. I didn't add a whole lot because it's a gentle thing. I didn't want to drown it, but it was bright before and it's livened it up a little. It's weird because, as I say, we think of Speyside. I think of Speyside, and I think of whiskies. Uh, Speyside has and which is the one? Which is the one that's the flavour of Speyside? Peter Box is in, another Canadian. Good to see you, Peter. But Speyside does have a feel for me. Obviously, they're not all the same. They're not, because you'll have your Aberlours, your sherry, you have uh, obviously different flavors coming through from different distilleries. But, uh, oh, sorry, Stuart, sorry, did you miss what I was actually drinking? Sorry, before we go too far. Yes, it's still this, still on the Imperial. So anybody that was new, that's what I'm at. So yes, Speyside. This doesn't taste like what Speyside to me tastes like now. Donner Pass. Tim is in. Good to see you, my friend. The job, Donner or Tim's asking how the job's going. Tiring, buddy. Tiring. I've went. I went from in the band working. I was working. I was talking about this with a guy today, and I was working probably about 16 to 20 hours a week, roughly. If you'd have called it work, and that was including traveling two gigs, etc., and getting paid well for it. And and it was in the evenings, obviously. And now I've gone back to shift work, and it's looping shifts, so nights, week of nights, week evenings, week of days, and currently I'm into my third week and I'm buggered, but you know, I'll get used to it. It's all very new to me. What I will say is it's it sucks being the new guy after 23 years. I literally the last time I was the new guy was when I started working for Michelin tires, and I'd forgotten how much it sucks. It's actually, in the words of Bart Simpson, it both sucks and blows. So there you go. Multi-mission, Menno's in. And could I just offer you once again, Menno, a happy birthday for yesterday? I know you can't stay, but it's good to have you. Yeah, the water in this, Greg, this Imperial, the water has now really, really turned it up. The citrus has become a little more floral, a little more perfumed again. Eric Waite says 44.1 ABV seems like an odd number. I think, yet again, I could be wrong, but I think age, I often think age plays into that, where at 25 years old, it's 44.1%. It's probably not cask strength, obviously. I mean, but I think that they're going to bring it down. They're going to play it kind of canny. 44.1 does seem like an odd percentage. What's the point one about? But somebody in their wisdom said 44.1 is it. That's where it tastes right. A distillery that always weirds me out about that, and there's probably a few of you'll know where I'm going with this, is Talisker. You know, getting back to Bushmills, and Eric, I've been enjoying what you've been doing with Bushmills this week. Bushmills come down to 40% base level, just do everything at 40%, almost everything. And as I said earlier, I reckon now that that 40%, there's a good chance it's because that's when their spirit does taste right, does taste good. Whiskey Whims, that's Stuart. This is what I was discussing that you and I had talked about. Was the Bushmills, and yes, Greg, there's a good chance that is the natural strength 44.1 from Dunnage at 25 years. Yes, Whiskey Whims, and just while Eric's here, Stuart and I had said this about the 13-year-old independently bottled Bushmills was rough, and it's because I'm now almost convinced, or I have this theory that they bring their whiskey down to 40% because it's better at 40%. Anything above that just starts to go off a bit. So, Neil Laverty, are you talking about this whiskey? If you're talking about this is a sample sent to me by Roy at Aquaviti. And I know that the picture that I found of it was from, leave that with me and I'll come back to me, where that picture came from of the bottle. This picture came from the Edinburgh one, and it was selling for in and around the 140 to 150 pound mark for the bottle. I suppose the question then would be, is it worth it? Yeah, yeah. Yes, Stuart, Royal Mile whiskies. He knows the whiskey. Yeah, I know. Sorry about that, Alan. I've actually I've thought about that even in my reviews. Whenever I'm recording reviews, and I've thought I've gone very quiet there. When I'm watching them back, I've gone terribly quiet. People are going to think I've stopped, but I sort of lose myself in it a bit. Apologize for that, but maybe I should move around without nosing. Uh, Even a mintiness coming out in it. Yes, as I say, 140 to 150 pounds. Well, it's a 25-year-old whiskey. It's from a now gone distillery, dead distillery. Yeah, I think that's very much worth that sort of money. I I would probably go out and buy 3 bottles of something else if it were my money, because I just like to. I'm still at that time of my journey, and I think I actually discussed this with. I think this might have come up last night with the new dram drinker, that I would rather get my feelers out there and buy 3 bottles of something to try 3 different experiences at the moment in my journey, rather than spend the price of 3 bottles of whiskey or more on one bottle for a great experience, but it's a big layout, isn't it? Hmm. But yeah, yeah, great whiskey. I Sorry, Lee J. Yeah, that's Strathern. Sorry, anybody that missed it. Lee J and I were discussing, or had talked about this in the past, about how we had the new Scotch distilleries uh, package from Belfast Whiskey Week, and how good they were. A couple of disappointments in it, but hmm, all gone. So I was with a 5:30 start in the morning. I wasn't actually intending on drinking tonight a lot, but it wouldn't be Jim's Monday Malt samples if I wasn't drinking, would it? Moving on, and we're back to Douglas Lang again. So, what have we got this time? Let's get rid of that. Let's find this. That's not a great picture because I sort of rushed this a little at the start and just fired it in there. And I was actually glad Roy sent me this one along with the Rock Island, and I wasn't expecting it. So I was very pleased when he sent me this, because he was saying great things about it. It is the old particular elements, Douglas Lang old particular elements of Jura, the 12-year-old balled at 54.3%. And I've sort of played them in this order tonight because I knew this was going to be the strong one. It is, sorry, Greg, it's not a great picture. It is Jura. It's just there at the in the middle of the label. Not, as I say, a very good quality picture. I should have taken a little time over that. But the reason why I I wanted to try this, because Jura gets a bit of stick, comes in for a bit of stick sometimes, doesn't it? Sorry, I'm just. Oh yes, I was reading something in the chat there. Yeah, Jura comes in for a bit of stick, and not only did Roy pick up on this one, somebody I think actually somebody sent it to him from memory, but there were a few people then backed up or agreed and said about how good this one was. You see, Stuart straight in there with because it sucks. Now, I know he's having a laugh, but I think this is a bit of the attitude too, isn't it? It's a it's an earthy nose on it, an incredibly earthy nose on it. Yeah. What is this? This is, yeah, 54.3%, and it certainly noses like it. There's a rubbery note there, as I say, it's very earthy. It's not a peaty thing. It's a butterscotchy creaminess over an earthiness over, and having worked in and on peat bogs, which smell nothing like peat, because it's only when it's burnt that it smells like burning peat. This actually smells more like an earthy peat bog. It smells like wet, mossy soil, not in a bad way. And as I say, there's an incredibly creamy thing. Peahead says, does it smell Jura? Well, it's much better, Frank. I've only had a couple of Juras. I've had the 10, and I had the did I have the Journey? Some of the real entry level stuff, and it's not great, is it? I'll be totally honest, it's not great. It's maybe not as bad as some people make it, but it ain't great. And then it goes deep, dark fruitiness. So it's not all earthy. It's not all creamy. The fruit is dark. Hard to explain, actually. Yeah, yeah, and Helen has hit on a very good point there. That and Jura aren't alone. I don't think, Helen, in that the Jura aren't the only ones guilty of such a thing. You know, their official bottlings aren't brilliant. And as I said, to me, there's quite a few other distilleries that are guilty of putting out second-rate whiskey, but their whiskey can be incredible in the right hands. Yeah, that is delicious, and it becomes uh, plum pudding. Hmm, that's quality, and this is where you imagine the Rock Island, what Douglas Lang are doing with Rock Island, using Talisker, Jura, uh, as I say, I think Highland Park is in there. Unfortunately, I just don't have a bottle of it anymore, but it is all pretty much island whiskies. And if they're using whiskies of this quality in them, well, it's as was it Ralphie said something along the lines of that. That, I mean, if you put good whiskey together, you get good whiskey. I think he said something like that, and it would make perfect sense that if they were getting good quality Talisker, good quality Jura, good quality Highland Park, there is another Aaron, is it? Maybe, maybe not. And you marry them together, you get great whiskey. And this is what I liked about the rock oyster cask strength. Mm. Oh, very much so. It's big and bold and round and mouth-watering. Yeah. Just scrolling back here because I think I missed something. Mm. Mm. Yes, I'm gonna add a little water to that. It doesn't fight you. It's not hot. It feels a little wild, shall we say. I'm not gonna add a lot of water. I'm gonna see if I can just tame it a little. Stir mouth-watering is what you want. Yeah. I'm not sure if that's a question or whether that's a statement, but I love I love whiskies. I don't know why, it's just me, everybody's different, but I love whiskies that make me salivate. I love them to just go, just like a burst, such a burst of flavor that oh yeah, that just got better again. Yeah, I can't remember, Frank. I think you're 100% right that it wasn't an overly expensive whiskey. One that would be worth checking out, and if you do, this would definitely be one to get you on. Yeah, sure. This is it. Give me a mouth-watering whiskey, and it just makes me want to go back. Yes, I do like that, and as I say, what it has also done is strip that rock oyster cask strength apart a little with only having this. This would make me want to go down the path and look at getting the 57 degrees north from Talisker, something big from Talisker, and just see what it what it's what it pulls together. I would love to even, had I had something like that here, I'd have been sticking the two of them in the glass together to see what they're like. Mm, creamy, fruity, but as I said, like plum pudding, briny, and big, big volume. When I say big volume, I don't literally mean the ABV. I mean it's just voluminous. It's just really big. Mm, quality. Thank you, Roy. I appreciate those. I will finish that one before my early night. Well, that's me through the samples for this evening. I'm really glad. I'm not leaving yet, but I'm really glad you lot could join me. As I said, I made it a bit of a mistake, a small mistake at the very start when I realized that I hadn't made the video link public. It's not the first time I've done it. And I just cottoned on to it about 3 to 4 minutes before the video, before I went live. So it was, I was slightly nervous because I thought, well, nobody's going to come in now because, you know, and, but you did. And I appreciate it as always. Stuart, oh, no idea, man. As I said, I could count on one hand the amount of times I've woke before 7 o'clock in the last at least 6 months. I could count on one hand, and those I woke by accident. and straight back to bed. So I just went straight back to sleep. So getting up to go and do, and what's worse, I don't expect you to feel sorry for me. I mean, but what's worse is on a Friday to get finished slightly earlier. They start at 6 o'clock, so I'll have to be up at 4:30 for that one. So yeah, you know, it's just one of those things, isn't it? As things as they are, as I said, to be working. What what it has also made me want to do. Sorry, I'll just put that away now. What has also made me want to do is get back to the music. So if nothing else, because I was getting weary, shall we say, of the music a bit. That was 4.5 years we were at it. No, 8 years we were at the band, but 4.5 years full time, and I was just getting a little weary with it. But now that I've had 6 months to reflect on that, pardon me, the hours I worked and the money I was getting paid, I now the bars are due to open next Monday, but they won't be allowed live music for a while because they don't want people singing and dancing and having fun, heaven forfend. Uh, but anybody, I mean, there's a couple of guys in here from Northern Ireland. I'm sure everywhere else around the world and all it's still going a bit weird what's going on, isn't it? That there's little local lockdowns and stuff happening, and it's just all I care about at the minute is keep the schools open. Mm. If I can keep my kids at school, it means I can work. It means my wife can work, etc., etc. And I'm sure Luna Aaron's in here as a teacher. I'm sure Luna's glad to get back. And all of us, we're just trying to get through life as easily as possible at the moment, aren't we? So, yeah, whatever it takes, eh? Because I really want to get back to, I want to get back to meeting people. And the next time I'm back in 3 weeks' time, I actually got a comment today, or I was contacted today uh, by Mr. Whiskey and Nigel. And I only discovered about 3 weeks before, I think it was 3 weeks before lockdown, etc., that there's some of us here might know Nigel, Mr. Whiskey and he does a lot on Instagram and does a bit of blogging, etc. Very, very nice guy, very easy to get on with. And Nigel actually contacted me and said, I'm trying to get a small local whiskey club together. So, and he says, saying as you're not too far away, would you be interested? He says, everybody brings a bottle each. We dip into each other's balls, and a dram goes into the club infinity ball. And naturally, I mean, now I'm saying so many because they're restricting it to 6 people to a house. So I would say he's going to have to keep an eye on this. But it'll be interesting. So it's happening. The first meeting will be 3 weeks from Saturday past. So by the time I come back to you next in 3 weeks' time for October's uh, Jim's Monday Malt samples, there will be. I'll have had that meeting with those guys. I'm really looking forward to it, and I will be back with a guest the next time again. I hope. I think it's sorted out. You've seen him before. He's been on with me before. You'll know him. I'll not say anything now, but it will come out. So that's pretty much where that's going. Let's just jump back into the chat before I head off to bed. And Bud Jenkins, I noticed planning a trip to Ireland in the spring, so hopefully I really, really hope that happens for you, bud. I really do. Somebody was asking last night. Oh, Paul Gibbs was saying last night that he's visiting Dublin and hopefully in December, and he was asking where be. And funny, I didn't. Uh, I said to him that apparently Teeling is a great tour, and Ellsworth says the guest Barry. No, it's not Barry. I'm sorry, or Sean. Uh, that he. I forgot. I did mention to him about Teeling. I also I forgot. I should have said to him after that about the Jameson experience. Apparently, the Jameson experience isn't bad either. But I wouldn't, for the simple fact that it's just I heard something that the Jameson experience were up to, and I didn't like it. They were putting out, giving people really, really poor Scotch to compare to Jameson, and it's how a case of how good is this Jameson as compared to Scotch whiskey, because this is what all Scotch whiskey tastes like, and I just thought that's a bit low because you know put Jameson's up against any half decent blended Scotch, and that blended Scotch will win my version every time. Sorry, Petehead. I just noticed Petehead. The intro or things have changed actually. The music that I did have for the outro for Jim's Monday Malt Samples was taken from, I can't even remember who it was from. It was just free music from somewhere. Now all or sorry, now the intro here and the outro are both myself, and all other intros, not the background music in my recorded reviews, it's just free music. But all the other music is just myself. It was just some little tunes yet again that, as you know, I do enjoy writing little tunes from time to time, and it was just what you could get to use as an intro or outro or that sort of thing, because they don't all work. So the next outro you hear will be myself, and as I say, I'll be back 3 weeks time, and I hope you can join me. There will be more chat. Sorry, Alan McLaughlin. Yes, I knew your brother. That's right. Your brother lives in Belfast, and if you do, please, please, please let me know. The bars are open. One of the bars that we used to play in, the Duke of York, is a great whiskey bar. They actually do have a good whiskey collection, and it's not just all Irish. They actually have some brilliant Scotch whiskies in there, and they're not scared to buy good Scotch single malts and charge for them, but at the same time they are good quality ones. So definitely, mate, by all means, let me know when you're coming. I'd love to have a drink with you. So that's it. I will be back, as I said, in 3 weeks with hopefully a guest. I really, as always, appreciate you all being here. It's just nice to relax and chat. And sometimes I've got stuff to chat about. Sometimes I just like to blather. And when it's whiskey, sure, it's all good fun. And I really enjoyed you all being here. And as I said, I'll see you in 3 weeks. So here's to your good health. Cheers.